or political affiliation, drug addiction, habitual alcoholism and chronic gambling, homosexuality, marital infidelity, and so on. So the grounds stated include existing grounds for legal separation as well as annulment. So this signifies that divorce provides more than legal separation or annulment could ever give. Given all these, I believe that divorce shall be legalized in the Philippines, for the current options available to couples are expensive and laborious, draining already depleted financial and emotional resources of families dealing with marital conflict. Thank you. To our panel of judges, sisters, teachers, students, and visitors, a pleasant morning to you all. My name is Alison Suarez, the Prime Minister of the opposing team, and I strongly and firmly believe that the legalization of divorce in the Philippines should not be allowed. Our country holds its morals and values at a high standard. The legalization of divorce could single-handedly tear down the morality of Filipinos that we try very hard to uphold. Divorce encourages not only the disruption, but the total obliteration of the unity and love of a family. According to Michelle Ruvas, a renowned writer with an interest in law, the family is the basic social unit of society. It provides the educational, financial, and emotional support its members need to thrive socially. Without a proper and functional family, communities in the Philippines will not be able to continue to grow, and society will crumble without its foundation. Although it was mentioned that divorce is pro-women and pro-poor, studies by the Heritage Foundation found that in the first 18 months following divorce, between 77 and 83% of mothers and children live in poverty. Divorce also greatly affects the welfare of a child. It creates the disruption of an adolescent's growth emotionally and psychologically. The effects and trauma of a child who is a victim of divorce manifests until adulthood. Therefore, divorce affects a child not only in their adolescence period, but throughout their entire life, as stated by Judith Wallenstein, an American researcher who dedicated 25 of her years to studies on children of divorce. Lastly, the divorce bill completely degrades the sacrament of marriage. Being a religious country with strong faith and values, Filipinos must respect its sanctity and sacredness of marriage. And I quote from our Pope Francis Amoris Laetitia, "The sacrament of marriage is not a social convention, an empty ritual, or merely the outward sign of commitment. The sacrament is a gift given for the sanctification and salvation of the spouse." With that being said, I truly believe that divorce should not be legalized in the Philippines. Thank you.
To the panel of judges, our sisters, our dear teachers, our fellow schoolmates, and guests. A wonderful morning to you all. I am Jonathan Costales, the Deputy Speaker for the government side. who firmly stands for the legalization of divorce in the Philippines. Divorce, a very big and meaningful word. It is a fact that the no divorce law here in the Philippines continues to be one of the biggest contemporary issues of the nation, leaving abused women and affected children to withstand gruesome abuse, mistreatment, and possible traumas. Now, what was stated before from the other group, they said that divorce destroys the family. But divorce does not destroy the family. Divorce, on any law for that matter, will not destroy the family. It is only the members of the family who can do that. Putting a clear divorce law in place recognizes that some marriages work and some don't. Now, I would like to raise an argument about the issue of fighting in front of children. Logically, we all agree that fighting in front of children is bad. According to an article from HuffingtonPost.com, written by Isabel Koo back in 2016, when fighting in front of children becomes repetitive and a constant occurrence in the household, this can negatively affect a child's behavior and take a toll on him or her. This can also cause anxiety and stress. And according to another article written by psychologist Mark Cummins for Huffington Post Canada, name-calling, physical abuse, and being pretentious that everything is okay in the household can also negatively affect the children. I would also like to raise concern on the topic, why parents fighting is a problem. According to an article written by Amy Morin for verywellfamily.com back in December 26, there's research to suggest that children as young as 6 months old can be negatively affected by harsh parental arguments. But it's not just the young kids who are affected by parents fighting. Other studies show that young adults up to the age of 19 can be sensitive to conflicts in their parents' marriages. It goes to show that children of all ages, from mere infancy through early adulthood, are impacted by how their parents choose to handle their differences. Researchers believe that high conflict marriages take a toll on child's mental health for several reasons. The first one being that kids are emotionally insecure. Fighting undermines kids' sense of security about the stability of the family. Children exposed to a lot of fighting may worry about divorce or wonder when one parent's silent treatment is going to end. Next, the parent-child relationship might be affected. A stressed-out parent might not be able to spend a lot of time with their children. In addition, the quality of the relationship may be affected, as it is difficult for parents to show their warmth and care for their children when they are angry and upset with the other parent. Now, I would like to talk about the Bible and the scriptures. Divorce is allowed according to the Bible, as written in Matthew chapter 5, verse 32, which states, "But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." The phrase "except for sexual immorality" is a thing in the scripture that gives God's permission for divorce. This exception clause is referring to sexual immorality. Jesus is saying that divorce is permissible if sexual immorality is committed. Therefore, any breaking of that bond by sexual relations outside of marriage is permissible by divorce. And lastly, considering that divorce has already been approved in the Philippines last March 11, 1917, which lasted for 33 years, which ended on August 30th, 1950, where the Civil Code of 1950 took effect, prohibiting divorce. And considering that having no divorce in the Philippines continues to be one of the biggest issues of the country. At this rate of development in the society and the Philippines, there will be an agreement for the revival of divorce in our country. Divorce is difficult. Thank you.
our panel of judges, SPC sisters, parents, faculty and staff, and my fellow Polinians. A pleasant morning to you all. I am Gabrielle Bea Angchango, Deputy Speaker of the Opposition. On behalf of this House, I firmly believe that divorce should not be legalized in the Philippines. And I'd be most happy to tell you why. Divorce, defined by Oxford Dictionary, is the legal dissolution of a marriage by a court or other competent body. Divorce in the Philippines has been an issue for many years now. In fact, the only country that has not legalized divorce is the Philippines. Of course, that's besides the great Vatican City, our center of the center of our religion, who have also not legalized divorce. This is mostly due to religious purposes. This alone firmly shows the morals and values of the Filipino people. In an anti-divorce essay published April 15, 2016, states that love of the family is the Filipino cultural identity. Family is very important, and we should not give evil an opportunity to destroy our gift of life, which is our family. Many people do not realize the true essence of having a family because of divorce. In another argumentative essay written by S. De Leon in October of 2014, states that the biggest factor as to why the Philippines has not legalized divorce is religion. As stated by the affirmative side, they said that the Philippines is a secular state where religion cannot dictate the laws. Though 70% of the Filipino people are Roman Catholics. That means that the church matters to a lot of the Filipinos. And the church firmly says, no. As a very Catholic country, and the only country in the whole world that does not legalize divorce, Filipinos very much value the covenant of marriage and their morals. Matrimony or marriage is one of the 7 sacraments that all Catholics celebrate and respect dearly. It is especially sacred to Catholics because a church wedding means two people are not only making a promise to each other, but to God. In an interview with Archbishop Villegas, divorce makes a mockery of marriage. If divorce is to be legalized, the sanctity of marriage will be lost, and the simplest problems would have the power to break up a marriage, though this will be further explained by the other members of the opposition. Marriage won't seem like such an important decision if one can always undo and redo. In an interview with GMA News, former President Benito Aquino III has said that divorce is a no for the Philippines. He added that he does not want the country to become like Las Vegas, where you get married in the morning and divorced in the afternoon. While legalizing divorce can save individuals from alleged bad relationships, it can also erase the importance of marriage in our society. Filipinos are very family-oriented people. We were raised as people who put their family first before anything. Now, divorce contradicts all of these practice values. Divorce separates families and affects millions, even billions, of children all across the globe. Divorce dissolves the one very essential unit of our Filipino society, family. That, schoolmates, faculty and staff, and our panel of judges is why we defend that divorce should not be legalized in the Philippines. Thank you.
teachers, fellow schoolmates, and guests. A pleasant morning to you all. My name is Felipe Tanya of Grade 10 St. John, standing here in front of you as the Government Whip number 1. Now, before I say my stand, I would like to say something about the previous speaker has said. She has stated that divorce is the disruption of family. But divorce is not anti-marriage and anti-family. Don't blame divorce. If one or both parents screw up their marriage, it is their fault, not the existence of the concept of divorce. Our team so strongly believes that divorce shall be legalized in the Philippines. Divorce is a difficult topic to discuss, more so among Filipinos, since the culture emphasizes the importance of family being the basic unit of society. Unfortunately, some marriages do fall apart, for one reason or another, and husbands and wives come to a crossroad where they either attempt to stay together for the children or part ways. Arguments can be made for either decision. Couples may try to hide their problems and keep it away from their children. However, development occurs in nested systems, where one microsystem, in this case, the marital relationship, inevitably has an effect on parent-child relationships. Staying in a marriage with high conflict may produce a familial environment high in aggression and violence. Based on the preliminary findings of the 2017 National Demographic and Health Survey, 1 in 4 ever married women aged 50 to 49 has ever experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence by their husbands or partner. 1 in 5 women has ever experienced emotional violence, 14% has ever experienced physical violence, and 5% has ever experienced sexual violence by their current or most recent husband or partner. Maxwell and Maxwell 2003 found that Filipino adolescents who witnessed familial aggression and violence self-reported high aggression, regardless of gender. Additionally, according to Harold, Shelton, Kuweke-Moray, and Cummings 2004, marital conflict reduces the child's emotional security about parenting, which in turn increases internalizing, which includes anxiety and depression, and externalizing problems, which include verbal and physical aggression, as well as negatively affecting social competence, adjustment, and academic development. From here, it may seem that removing the stressor of marital conflict is the obvious solution in optimizing adolescents' development. UNL 2010 calls this the stress relief hypothesis, wherein the association between parents' marital conflict and conflict and control in mother-child relationship is moderated by divorce. That is, divorce can actually relieve the negative effects of marital conflict on adolescents and parents themselves. Arguments can also be made regarding the negative effects of divorce on adolescents. Fathers are 90% of the time the non-residential parent, that is, the parent who does not live with the rest of the family. This makes it particularly difficult for them to maintain close ties with their children. Furthermore, fathers link their role as a father with their role as a husband, so they tend to withdraw from their children after divorce. They are also less likely to develop closer relationships with their sons than mothers will with their daughters. UNL 2010 hypothesized that this is because mothers compensate for the divorce by developing a closer relationship with their children, especially with daughters. Farm 2001 studied the long-term consequences of divorce on adolescents and found that these adolescents put off marriage for longer and once married had a greater likelihood of marital instability. Thank you.
Our panel of judges, sisters, teachers, parents, and fellow students, good morning. I am Peter Kimbo, the first opposing government whip. And our house strongly believes that divorce should not be legalized in the Philippines. For the legalization of divorce does not affect the parents only, but also the children. According to Judith Wallerstein, divorce is a different experience for children because the children lose something that is fundamental to their development, the family structure. The family compromises the scaffolding upon which children mount successive developmental stages from infancy to adolescence. It supports their psychological, physical, and emotional ascent into maturity. With divorce, that structure breaks down, leaving children who feel alone and very frightened about the present and the future. According to Carl Pickard's book, The Case of the Scary Divorce, published in 1997, divorce massively changes the life of a child, creating new family circumstances in which to live in. It tends to intensify a child's dependence and accelerate an adolescent's independence. It elicits a more regressive response in the child and a more aggressive response in the adolescent. Divorce shakes the trust and dependency on parents who now behave in an extremely undependable way. A child is now forced to ask himself, who will take care of me? If my parents can lose their love for me, can they lose their love? If my parents are forced to lose their love for each other, can they lose their love for me? There can be separation anxieties, clinging, whining, tantrums, and temporary loss of established self-care skills. An adolescent tends to deal more aggressively to divorce, often reacting in a mad and rebellious way, disregarding family discipline and taking care of themselves, since parents have failed to keep commitments to the family that were originally made. The adolescent may try to get back at his parents, having thoughts like, if I can't trust them to stay together and take care of the family, then I need to rely on myself more. If they can break their marriage and put themselves first, then I can put myself first too. And if they don't mind hurting me, then I don't mind hurting them. They behave even more distantly and defiantly, more determined to live his life his way, more dedicated to his self-interest than before, feeling more impelled and entitled to act on his own. An article by Amy Morin, LCSW, states that divorce may increase the risk for mental health problems in children and adolescents. Studies have also found depression and anxiety rates higher in children from divorced parents. Studies also show most kids from divorced families score lower on achievement tests and are less likely to graduate. Adolescents with divorced parents are more likely to engage in risky behavior, such as substance use and early sexual activity. In the United States, adolescents with divorced parents drink alcohol earlier and report higher alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, and drug use than their peers. Adults who experience divorce during childhood tend to have lower educational and occupational attainment, and more employment and economic problems, and they may also have relationship difficulties. Divorce rates are higher for people whose parents were divorced. More than 30 years of research by various researchers reveals many negative effects of divorce, not just on children, but even parents. Children of divorced parents experience illness more and recover slower. They are also prone to live in poverty. But what people do not talk about is how it affects the parents too. According to a study conducted by Augustine J. Camposoa from the University of California, Riverside, 75% of all suicides are committed by men, 22,000 to be exact. And almost 15,000 of these suicides are committed by men from divorce. Aside from physical and mental effects, it also affects both parents and children money-wise. 4 times as many divorced women with children under the poverty line than married women. And children from divorced families are 5 times more likely to live in poverty. Children never get over a divorce, and you cannot deny that it has a great make laws that will affect their lives forever. Thank you.
Good morning to our beloved sisters, respected judges, teachers, students, and fellow guests. I am Aika Shimizatani, the government whip 2 from the government side. We firmly stand in the belief that divorce should be legalized in the Philippines, provided that it is for the betterment of the society and the individual or individuals themselves involved in that marriage. As we all know, the institution of marriage is in trouble today. In millions of households, both men and women who are trapped in marital commitment constantly quarrel, often in front of their helpless children who grow up in a confused and violent environment. Often, men turn to their women and bear illegitimate children and then abandon their legal wives and children because of the laxity of laws that should have held them accountable. As stated in an article entitled Philippines Needs Divorce Law, written by Whale G. Battles last 2012, it is not a coincidence that those pushing for the divorce bill in Congress are women. With this, the Catholic Church's response has been to get proactive about better preparing engaged couples before they marry. In fact, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops' National Pastoral Initiative for Marriage has made strengthening Catholic marriages a top priority. Divorce cannot or will not divorce families. The members of the family, most especially the married couples, are the only ones who have the power to destroy their families. If we are after the maintenance of our morality in our country, then everything should start from us by our heart. We can't just sit back and feed our righteous egos and assume about what's best for everyone. We can't judge people because we don't know anything about what they're going through. The divorce bill is not intended to break an existing, well-established, solid and firm families, but rather it will protect abused women and disregard their abusive and infidel husbands. It is to protect the welfare of the children away from irresponsible and abusive parents. It is to give hope to those single parents who have been separated and estranged by their legal spouses to finally find a new legal spouse. As Peter and the previous speaker said, negative effects are inflicted upon children such as separation and anxieties. But I know that broken homes can affect children, and it is up to the parents to make them understand why things like this happen or why people separate. Do you think